what I want to cover is what's the biggest thing that can cause you to triple your business, and what's the biggest thing that can cause you to trip up, break your ankle, and cause you not to want to get up to move forward, right? The biggest thing that'll triple you in the beginning, and the biggest thing that'll trip you up in the beginning. So that's what I want to cover with you guys. And so what that looks like, what that falls upon is schedule, is structuring yourself in the beginning. So a lot of times somebody comes on board and they've got this employee mindset, employee background, and now they become free, right? They're self-employed. And I think a lot of times what happens is they start walking with good intent. Like, I intend to be successful. I intend to be an entrepreneur. I intend to write 20K a month. I intend fill in the blank, right? So they got all this good intention, but nothing becomes actualized because they don't have that structure there. It's almost like they get this badge and they start calling people like, hey, Daryl, did you hear the news, bro? I'm self-employed now. That's right. Birthday parties, I go to them all. I can do what I want to do. Whatever I want to do, whatever I want to go see, I'll go do it. And so they forget the fact that they've got to pay the price to get the payoff that's so good. And the price to pay is so minute to the abundant payoff that can be paid, but you've got to have a structured schedule to get there. And so what's the biggest thing that keeps people from paying that price? Well, it's understanding that they've got to structure themselves, right? That you can hear, learn all this stuff, but until you've got a structured schedule, you'll get to the end of the day and you'll feel like you accomplished all this stuff, but there's nothing showing for it. And that just means that there was no intent, no focus on exactly what a win looked like. It's kind of like my staff, they need to know what a win looks like, so at the end of the day, when they get done working, they can kind of leave that hat, that working hat on the table, separate and be present for their family, right? And I owe that to them. Now, if I don't ever tell them what a win looks like, then they never really understand if they won or lost, and therefore they're always in this middle ground, kind of thinking about what they should have done, did they do enough, was it what needed to be done, and now they're never present with the family, and so this middle ground creates really unsettledness, and they're not content or happy with where they're at, right? And so being self-employed, we've got to structure that as well. Best analogy I can kind of give you, it's like if you look at the prison system, right? You get somebody that goes in the prison system, when they get in there, what do they have right away? Structure. Dude, a ton of structure. Like, hey, lights out, lights on. Right. This is breakfast time. It's time you get to go to the yard. This is free time. Everything is so structured. And they actually start finding somewhat of a peace within that because it's structured, right? They find freedom in that structure because there's such a disciplined daily agenda. Now, what happens when they get out of the prison, right? And if you look at the statistics on how many go back to prison, it'll blow your mind. Well, why is that? Well, and they also feel like they've almost kind of re-identified themselves. They don't feel like the same person that went in as now that's coming out. But what takes them to, why do they fall back? Well, they get into that freedom and they don't know what the heck to do with all that time. All that white space, right? What do we do now, right? And so they try their best, but because there's nobody giving them structure, schedule, they're trying to find a job, trying to know what to do, and they just go back to default mode, and they run back to the structure, which is back in the prison system. Does that make sense? It's like my kids. They think they want freedom to do what they want to do. You ever meet a kid that doesn't have discipline and structure? Little Billy, kicks you in the nuts, runs off, and you're like, what the heck? Well, I mean, it's like freedom. And you think, oh, that's what he wants, but that's not really what he wants. He wants structure, right? And so a lot of times what we think we want as independent entrepreneurs, self-employed business owners, as you join like Family First Life, even if you're doing this part-time or full-time, all that stuff that you want, the freedom and the financial freedom and the big income and the flexibility of schedule and to be able to go do things with the family and to be able to give money here to this organization or help out with the church in this way, all that kind of stuff that you want, where's the gap at between being here and getting to there? It's structured schedule. It's the biggest reason why people fail. They work off good intent and goodwill, but it doesn't ever pay the bills, and then eventually they get discouraged and disappointed because what they want to have happen and what they're currently experiencing, that gap so broad, that's a feeding ground for disappointment, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's because of this, it's because of that, it's because of this, and then you pull back from doing the things that's going to help build you up to get to the next level, as you structure your schedule, like your skill level, knowing what to say on the phones, what to do in the in-home, because every time you plug into a conference call and every time you get on the Facebook group page, you see somebody seeing success, and you don't want to see that because it makes you feel bad about where you're at, and you're only there because you didn't structure your schedule in the first place. Does that make sense? So structured schedule is where it's at. You've got to have that schedule structure, and you've got to have non-negotiable. So first thing is this: with your schedule, you've got to identify some things that there's nothing that's ever going to get in the way that's going to prevent you from doing it. Like it's a non-negotiable. Like you have to do it. And you could almost reverse engineer this thing. And I'll give you an example. Like every appointment you book is typically like $500 in annual premium on average. So if you have 10 appointments booked, on average that should be $5,000 in annual premium, right? So you can kind of work it backwards. And that's why, and this kind of proves the point so much so that structure or a schedule is that important. If I said, hey Chris, what I'm going to do is this: you've got to dial for 15 hours a week, which by the way, 15 hours of phone calls, that would be the average dials, average 30 dials per hour is the average. So 10 would be 300, so it'd be 450 dials. There's not anybody in the meeting we did earlier, if we had 50 people here, nobody would raise their hand that they made 450 phone calls, not one. 300, maybe one, maybe not. So if I said 15 hours and then you're going to run 20 appointments a week and I'm going to pay you $250,000 a year to do that, then next year I'm going to pay you $350, next year I'm going to pay you $500. Is there anybody that wouldn't do that? And the answer is, no, I do it. I do it in a second. Well, it's the same thing. If you do that here, you're going to get that. It's almost like I want to, make agents hire someone and treat them like an employee and structure the schedule. Because there's no way you would be late to work if you were going to lose $25,000 a month in income if you're not making it now, right? You wouldn't be late because you wouldn't want to get fired. But why do we not show up now? It's because we don't structure ourselves like a manager or a business owner would structure. But you are the business owner. So that's where you got to get in your mind. How do you make that shift where you go from employee mindset to business owner mindset, and you stick and commit to your schedule, just as if you would lose $25,000 if you didn't every month, right? And so a lot of times we think, I'd work harder for myself than my boss. I don't know about that. Are you sure? I hear your lips. Let me see your schedule. Let me see your tracker. What does your tracker look like? What does that show? Let me see that. And then let's see what it looks like, right? And so typically that's not the case. All right, so this is how you want to break it down. We take a look. So let's say Monday, right? Monday, we'll call that dial day. So Monday, we'll say this is a dial day. And the dial days are the most important days by far, because nothing good happens until you start dialing the phones. Nothing good. If you're brand new, I promise you, this is what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, I need to know about the product. Well, I need to know about, what if I book an appointment? What do I say here? All that is just this deception, minutia, this voice of mediocrity, trying to keep you from taking the steps of action to get you to where you want to go. So it works. Now, I believe it's a deceiver because I'm a man of faith, but we call it the voice of mediocrity. It's a real thing. How do you know that? Well, if you're not speaking and you hear something, that's not you. That's a different voice, right? That's whatever you want to call it. I'm just saying that it is what it is. That's what takes place. And so you've got to say, Mondays is my dial day. Nothing can get in my way, and I got to trust what I'm hearing. Because the thing is this is what I would rest upon when you're getting feedback as you get going. In this business, the beautiful thing is, if Daryl doesn't go out and make sales, every time I spend energy and time helping Daryl, if his question is that really the way I should do it? Is it really helping me? The default answer has got to be based on the fact that I only make money if I'm selfish, if he does good. So if I'm selfless or selfish, they both land on Daryl doing good. Does that make sense? And so why would I ever say anything that's not going to help Daryl out? I wouldn't. That would be hurting myself if it doesn't help him. And so a lot of times in the beginning, what you think isn't, what you think isn't, and that's the way it should be, because your thought process is getting started on this process to go through a learning curve to go where you need to go. And your level of thought process and thinking has got you here. The only way you get to here is to shape and shift the way you see things and your thought process. right? That's why you get to somebody like, wow, that makes sense. I never thought about it like that. Well, you shouldn't have thought about it like that. That person makes a 7-figure income. You make $100,000. You do think differently. That's why they make. Now, good news is if you get around them long enough, right, and you hear that language, you'll be able to develop and reestablish your thought process and likeness of that to go out there and get the results that they're getting. As long as you're willing to work, right? It's not that deep. And that's why it's so great where you're at here, because you got the activity part, you've got to work or else it doesn't do any good. And now you hear all the right things of what to do, how to structure your schedule, what the in-home looks like, all that kind of stuff. And if you don't do it, it's almost worse that you know it, right?
Right.
It's almost like, I would say, it's kind of like, dude, if you're making a living stealing or selling drugs, right? Don't read the Bible. I'm just telling you, unless you're going to change.
Right.
If you're not going to change, you're worse off for knowing the good news.
Right.
You're worse off. Now you feel convicted. Man, like, what's this feeling? Like, is this a spirit in me or something? I shouldn't be doing it, and I still need to do it. So does that make sense? So it's like, to know not to do is not to know, and you're worse off for hearing it because you're not doing it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the first thing is eliminate white space, because the enemy works in the white space. If you don't control your schedule and structure your schedule, circumstances, negative thoughts, crap you don't desire will do it for you. That's the way the good stuff doesn't intentionally happen. Nobody lifted up their shirt one day without any work or intention. I said, wow, how'd that six-pack get on there? Huh, it had. You're there. There's 6 of them. That doesn't work that way. You got to structure it. I got to wake up at this time. I got to go to the gym at this time. I got to eat this kind of food. That's what it doesn't happen by accident. Nothing good in life happens by accident. Success is a battle uphill continuously. Always a battle uphill. That never changes. It's always like that. And so the first step is Monday, dial day. What's the biggest thing that can distract you? You've got to write that down and being aware of it. Is it a thought process that you convince yourself you need to have? Meaning that, like, I need another product. I need to know this. Like, I know I should dial, but I'm going to do that once I get to here or once I understand that. Because, by the way, that's a distraction.
Yeah.
And it's your choice to say, let me throw that out, because if it's not in line with what I've heard from the person working with me to help me, then it's obviously the wrong thought process, which it is. So nothing good happens till you dial. You don't need to know about the in-home. You don't need to know how to quote software. You don't need to know how to print off an application. Just trust me, once you've got appointments, now we can then teach you what to write and how to write it within that client's house. We could address that scenario right now. But going through hypotheticals, by the time you get to the real appointment, we probably didn't even discuss that hypothetical, and you're going to forget the other hypothetical. It's all irrelevant. It's scattered energy that leads to no benefit. It's like throwing a bunch of seed on hard ground. I'd rather throw 3 seeds on soil and grow some. You know what I mean? So let's dial the phones. So the first thing that you got to have that'll make all the difference in the world is a non-negotiable. So a lot of times that non-negotiable is on Monday dialing is 12 appointments. So agent's goal is, hey, 12 appointments. Tuesday is a run day, typically. So Tuesday's a run day. I'm going to be in the field. Wednesday's a run day. I'm going to be in the field. So that would be like, we'll call that like this. It's really the second half of the week, right? Because Thursday's the last day of the week, and Thursday's another dial day. So if we just work right here real quick. So Monday, dial day. So the non-negotiable's got to be as if you're working a job, making $250,000 a year, and if you don't hit 12 appointments, you're fired. And if that was the case, you wouldn't be like, let me get started dialing at 5. That gives me 3 hours. No, you'd be like scared to death. Like, that might not be enough. I don't lose my job. Because the thing is this, if you don't hit your non-negotiable, you're going to have to go get a job, which means you lose this one. Because you ain't make no money, you ain't make no money. You know what I mean? The one thing I'm never going to do is placate something. I'm going to tell you exactly how it is and the truth. The truth is, if you don't book enough appointments, you're going to be broke, go get a job. Because we don't want broke agents working with us. The reason being, it's not like a pride thing, like I don't want anybody on my team broke, because I care about you and your family, and I don't want you struggling. That's not that program where it's like, look how big I am, how much money I'm making, and you're all broke. That's not my deal. That's why we give out really high comp, investor renewals, and good training, because we want you to make money. So 12 appointments, that's a non-negotiable. So you start at 8 a.m. because you don't want to lose your job. and you want to give your best chance. You want to stack the deck in your favor. Does that make sense? It's like me and my wife, we were playing poker last time. My grandpa, her grandpa, he's 83. It was his birthday, and he loves playing poker. And she was sitting next to me, and I had this thought, but I didn't do it. It was a lack of judgment and a break in integrity. I saw her card, and she had a queen, I had a queen. I had a 5, she had a 4. So two very terrible hands, but you put our 2 queens together. Stack I was thinking, like, stack the deck. This might be a bad idea to stack the deck. I might need to stack the deck, right? And so anyways, you want to stack the deck in your favor. So the goal is 12 appointments you want to book, non-negotiable. So whatever it takes. That means that no matter what it takes. Like if I had a gun, like your dog, right? Because it's not as morbid, which still kind of is, but I've already gone there, so now I can't go back. Let's just say you like your dog, and I said, hey, if you don't hit 12 appointments, would you hit it? You'd hit it. That's non-negotiable. So when you have non-negotiables, when they really mean non-negotiables, right? Then you don't have to worry about spending all that energy of like, should I, or the energy spent on distractions, because it's a non-negotiable. You put blinders on, everything else doesn't matter because it's non-negotiable, and your commitment is so high because you trick yourself in the fear of loss. Lose my job, dog. Does that make sense? So you gotta do that, right? You gotta come up with those non-negotiables, and it means a non-negotiable, right? And so now your goal is 12 appointments. So the way I would do it is, so if we got 9 a.m., so 9 o'clock, 10:30, so every hour and a half I book an appointment. 12 o'clock, 1:30, let's say 3 o'clock, 4:30, 6 o'clock, 7:30, right? And let's just say every day I start early, so I've got an 8:30, 10 o'clock, 11:30, 1 o'clock, 2:30, 4 o'clock, 5:30, 7 o'clock, and 8:30. So right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I have 17 slots I can fill. Now, am I going to book 17 appointments? For me, that was my deal. I'd rather just knock it out in 3 days. So I book 9 each day and do 3 days and 24 appointments. But what I'm saying, you got 17 slots. So if your goal is 12, you just got to fill in 6 of these. Now, I give myself an hour and a half between each appointment because of driving, what have you. So the way it works is if I'm booking at 8:30, Kevin, I tell them I'm going to be there between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So I get there at 8 o'clock, right? And the appointment goes longer. It goes, or it just goes a full hour. It goes for an hour, right? Now I'm out of 9, 30 minutes to my next appointment. I told them on my 10 o'clock, I'd be there from 9:30 to 10:30, 30 minutes to the side. So now I'm on the earlier side, right? Let's just say that one goes long. The mom comes out of the room like, I need life insurance. I just got, whatever, through the mail. And I write them up. So now out of that night, I'm there at 9:30, but I'm not out of there until, let's just say, 10 o'clock. There's a 30-minute drive time, right? I'm sorry, 10:30, I'm out there at 11. Right. So I get to the next one at 11:30, right? And they're not there. Mm-hmm. So I drive to my next one, and I'm there at 12 o'clock. Now I'm on the early side of it. So I've got a window. If it goes, does that make sense? So I've got a window to shift to. So when I'm down in Monday, my goal is I'm going to book my first 4 or 5 appointments. My first 3 or 4 appointments, I'm trying to get them booked for Wednesday. Okay? And then I go back and I'm going to fill in my Tuesday. So once I've got that booked, I'm booking up my appointments for Tuesday. And that's actually, what I'll probably do. That's not true. I'm going to first try to book 4 appointments for Tuesday. It's almost irrelevant because you should definitely book more than 4 appointments for your diamond for the full Monday. But I'll book in, let's just say Wednesday, your first 4 appointments. Once I book that, then I go back and I start booking up my Tuesday. Why do I do that? Well, because I book up my full Wednesday, I got 6, 7, 8 appointments Wednesday, and I got nothing for Tuesday. When am I going to dial for Tuesday if Tuesday's already here? But if I fill in these 4, and then I go and book these 4, now once those are booked, I'll start filling in the rest for Wednesday. And let's just say I get to that one, and then at the end of the day, right, I missed my goal, screwed up, non-negotiable I didn't hit, which hardly ever happens. But if it does, now Tuesday I can dial in the morning and fill in the rest for my Wednesday. So I still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's kind of how I'll plan it. Same thing, that looks the same way on Thursday. Thursday I'm dialing again, and I'm running Friday and Saturday, no different. Now, what about Sunday? Well, Sunday was a day that I would hang out with family. You know, that was just my family day. Now, the thing is this, I had to create some kind of buy-in to force me to treat it like a non-negotiable. Because it's all good when you say it, right? It's kind of like, how many times have you said it, I've said it, and you've heard it said on New Year's Day, like, man, I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to start losing weight. I'm about to get ripped, you know? And so you're all focused, and then what happens like 2 weeks later? You're eating Cheeto Puffs on your couch watching Super Bowl, right? And the reason being is there's no buy-in to it, right? So the thing is this, if you are really committed, you get a personal trainer. Because it costs money, which is buy-in. There's accountability factor, because they know they're going to be, they're going to be there. And you're like, God, what do I look like? It's a whole like identity. That's not who I am. I don't be that kind of person. And I need to show up. If I say I'm going to show up, they're going to be there waiting for me. There's all that buying that goes in. So you're 500 times more likely to actually stay and hit your goals when you've got a personal trainer, by far, right? If you continue to keep one for there on out, right? But why do you not do that personally? Why do so many people not do it, Kevin? Because that's almost commonsensical, right? Why do they don't do it because it sounds good, but they're really not willing to take their good intent, like we talked about in the beginning, and turn it into an absolute commitment, non-negotiable. And if they get a personal trainer, now they know, like, now I really got to go. I got to show up. What if I don't want to show up one day? You know what I mean? Like, what if I got to pay? Now they're really bought in. What if I fail? What if I work out and it doesn't work? That'll be embarrassing. So the fear of failure. All that stuff starts to play, and so like, I don't need a personal trainer. I'm just going to go to the gym. And they set themselves up for failure because they never turned the good intent into a non-negotiable by creating buy-in. So you got to create buy-in so that way you're more forced to it. So what I would do is I'd tell my kids and my wife, like, hey, Sunday's the day I've got off, but if I don't hit my goal, Dad's working Sunday. And guess what? I don't want to work Sunday. My kids didn't want Dad to work Sunday. My wife doesn't want me to work Sunday. And so throughout the week, they're like, hey, Dad, how's the tracking? What does it look like? What does it look like? Now, I had to get uncomfortable and create a buy-in because now I don't want the fear of failure, like, now kids, I ain't doing it and I didn't hit it. I go back, I go back on it. I'm going to go ahead, instead of paying the price and working Sunday to ensure that I can give you the life I want you to have, I'm going to go ahead and lower my expectation that I kind of gave you guys for what we're going to be in a year. In 6 months, I'm going to lower the expectation to what I'm experiencing, which is me not being committed at all, kind of working here and there, and being okay with struggling, right? But if I do that, I got the fear of that. What I'm saying is nothing good will happen until you step out and get uncomfortable. Like, I love that sign in my office that says, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Nothing good happens while you're staying in your comfort zone. Nothing. Right? It doesn't. When you go back to your comfort zone, you become pathetic and average. Nothing good happens in your comfort zone. So you've got to create buy-in. And you've got to be committed to the consequence. See, if I said I would work Sunday, but I wasn't committed to the consequence, if I didn't hit my goal, it doesn't matter anyways. It's not going to motivate me throughout the week because I'm not really going to do it anyways. See, for me though, because I created buy-in and accountability, other people know about it, they knew. The rule of reciprocation, I was trying to work with myself, like I said it, or I told my wife I'd give her this. The rule of consistency, like I want to be consistent with what I'm portraying myself to say I'm going to do. I wanted to do is whatever I could to sell myself or trick myself into doing the things that would cause me to create disciplined structure, non-negotiable. Because I'm just telling you, it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. You negate it because you are the one having to do it. And so that's kind of how you got to look at it. Now, because I was committed to the consequence and I had a consequence mindset, right, I would hardly ever miss my goal, Kevin, because I knew that I would have to, that consequence, and I would stick to it, and I would have to endure it. And because of that, me coming up with that pain or loss and that consequence, it forced me to never miss this goal. So on Mondays, man, you better believe it, 8 a.m., dialing the phones. I dial from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, And then from 12 to 1, I'd go get a lunch. And what you'll see in the office, like Daryl and Dennis, heck, if they didn't hit their first time block because 6 appointments, you'll see them eating while they're dialing. Yeah. Eating while dialing is not as fun as taking a break and going and get something to eat with somebody, right? But it's just it's a small pay the price, small consequence, which evokes more discipline in the areas that you want to be disciplined. That's going to lead to freedom in your life. So 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we got a sales training and we're back at it. So dialing from 4 all the way until 8:30, whatever it takes. My deal was if I got to get it knocked out and I got to hit 12 appointments, I'd rather just knock it out in these 4 hours. Does it always work out that way? No, but it works out 100% more times than it wouldn't work out if I never started down at 8 o'clock in the first place, right? Right. Now, the crazy thing is when you get a head start, I book more appointments in this block because I'm confident. So I already got appointments. Mm-hmm. So when they give me objections, I don't communicate from a lack of posture of I need something from you and mess up the whole dynamic to the fact that they sent the lead in, which is weird and creeps them out. So they want to book an appointment with, I act like I need something when they send it for me. That's weird. You see what I'm saying? And so it's almost like walking into McDonald's. You guys are walking like, and the person behind the register is like, hey Kevin, did you want to buy some food today? Were you here to buy food? Like, are you pot?
Right, I got you.
Are you smoking weed behind the counter, or is that before you got to work? Where's the rating at up in here? You know, you almost leave because you're like, these are some psychopaths. I don't trust you. Right. If you stuck some in my hamburger, I'm out of here. Of course you're there. It's not, but sometimes we screw it up like that. Like they've already asked for the help. They've already want you to take the order. How do you mess it up? You mess it up like that. You flip the roles. And they're like, this is weird. So now if you don't do that and you procrastinate, procrastination is the insurance policy against success, in my opinion. The longer you wait to do something, the less likely you are to do it, and the lower the standards of performance that you do it at because of that negated time that you took. So, but if I have wins, so if I don't win here and I start dialing here, now it's harder for me not to be needy because I got to get 12 appointments, and I only got 4 hours. And so now when you say something, the way I say it is if it's for me, because I know I said this is non-negotiable, but now I'm working, up. Now it's a struggle because I'm behind that 8 ball. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's how you got to structure it and set it up, your schedule. Now, what's a big part of this that will help keep you growing and forward? Because the thing is this, like everybody's got a financial blueprint, like a thermostat, right? And I think most people operate, it's like, example I'll give you, that big lottery that was out. How much was it? It was like $1 billion?
Something like that. Yeah.
It was crazy what it was. Yeah. But the crazier thing is how many people go bankrupt after getting that within like 3 years. It's like almost every one of them. Right. I mean, it's nuts. Well, how is that? Well, they don't know. They're not comfortable there. So they don't even consciously realize that subconsciously they're doing whatever they can to make poor choices to get back to the level of comfort, which it might be 50,000 a year, 20,000 hours a year, 100. They'll get right back there because they've not grown themselves to a level where they could actually mentally, with their mindset, sustain it. A lot of this stuff isn't just mechanical, it's mindset, right? And so I realized that as 19 years of age, when I got started in this business 11 years ago, and my best decision I made was I needed to grow. I knew that I had to grow and develop my thought process to a level that when I started to see success, I wouldn't shoot myself in the foot. If I went out and wrote a big week, my bank account grew, right? I didn't get so emotional looking at the result and staring at my account and think like, I'm going to go ahead and take the next 2 days off. I'm going to go ahead and disrupt the structure of my schedule. Or if I went out there and I got killed, I didn't think, I'm going to go ahead and not do it. It's kind of like, it's harder, this is being recorded right after Thanksgiving. Most people eat a lot on Thanksgiving, and they eat a lot more on Friday, because heck, we got a bunch of leftovers. Why not? I mean, I don't want to waste the food. Kind of person there's people in Ethiopia that are starving to death. I got to eat all that. Like, why would I not? That's selfish if I don't, right? And so you gain all this weight, right? And then you're like, I don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to go to the gym because you get bad, you get all that kind of stuff. But that's when you need to go the most, right? That's when you need to hit the sauna for 30 minutes longer and go to the gym. But that's how we work and operate. When we've made bad choices and don't see the result we wanted to see, we clam up and don't push forward. That's when you need to push forward the most, right? So I never wanted to get influenced based off of an outcome or result. I wanted to make sure that my self-image came from my work habits, and my work habits were established and rooted in the structure of my schedule. Because then I'm not high or low no matter what. Then when things go really good, I get to see the great payoff. See, the great payoff, Daryl, is when you pay the price when you don't no longer have to pay the price. Like you're above water, not just nose above water, right? You're like standing almost out of that water. You're doing good. You're doing better than you thought you would do, and you still pay the price. That's where the greatest benefits come. And what I mean by that is this, Chris. So when you're like 20K, 10K, like, so for me, I've never been a top producer in a given month, ever. But every year I've been in the top 10 personal producers at the end of the year. I've written 500,000 on my own pen many years. And that's because of the structured schedule, not getting emotional or having my work habits be influenced based on an outcome. And that just proves the point of how many times a producer that's a lot more talented than I am, that can go out and write 70,000 in a month, right, that they end up becoming number 20 at the end of the year simply because they don't get their self-image, or they don't get their good feeling from their work habits. They're influenced and biased to it. And so when you continue to pay the price when you no longer have to, when you stay structured in your disciplined schedule no matter what that builds is now you paid the price when you didn't have to, you continue to press through, you continue to go through that journey. So now, Chris, when all of a sudden you have the opportunity to hire an admin to take things that are only making you, that are costing you, saving $15 an hour by not having somebody do it, right? Mm-hmm. When you can hire that admin, you can't because you didn't build up significant income to reinvest in your business. And that admin was your ticket to the next level of your business, because now you can focus solely on selling and hiring, right? And not wearing all these administrative hats, because every time you take a hat off and put another one on, it's taking all that energy and scattering it opposed to focusing it. Once you focus it, you can harness it like putting a magnifying glass on a sun ray on your leg. You don't get a sunburn, bro. You get a hole in your leg. I want a hole in my business, a big one that's got a lot of income going into it. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how you got to look at it. Is it's if you pay the price when you don't have to, the benefit is much greater, even though it doesn't seem like that. Because a lot of times we think the best benefit is just getting out of the hole that we're in. No, the biggest payoff comes when you're already out of that hole, and now you can have breakthroughs to create real financial freedom. And that's why structured, disciplined schedule needs to be consistent no matter what. And so this is the biggest thing that's going to help you. Now, real quick, and then we'll wrap up, is as far as a strategy when it comes to growing and developing. So activity is a big thing. Like we said, in your schedule, what's the two most important things that you absolutely have to have? I'd say it would be activity, which is what I drew up. The second thing, just as important, is association. That comes from conference calls. It comes from meetings. It comes from the Facebook group page that you can plug into and see live videos, live feed, people posting comments, tips, sales tips, strategies, tools that are used, systems, FFL mentor. It comes from that stuff, the association, because the more you listen to it, the more you're going to start to shift and shape your thought process. Like the big ways that your thought process develops or changes into a next level thought process is when something emotionally happens, like you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then all of a sudden that'll take place, or through significant periods of repetition. So my deal was I'd rather not just have an emotional breakdown. If I can negate that one and just listen to a bunch of calls and through repetition develop it, I'd like that approach a little bit better. That seems like a better path, right? So that's the way you do it. And so association. Now, in addition to that, last thing is this, is in the morning, is you've got to take control of your schedule and your emotions day one, minute one, starting out. Because if you don't, I'm just telling you, like the negativity, the voice of doubt, all that stuff, it just comes in. Again, if you don't take control of your schedule and control your circumstances will control you. That's just the way it's going to work out. So in the morning, I wake up before I need to go out of the door and go run appointments. If I know I got to be out, I got to get up an hour early to 2 hours early just to kind of get myself ready. And you might not need that much time. I'm a disaster. So I mean, I know I'm not. Like, I need the help. You know what I mean? Like I need to get my mind right. So I spend the first 10 minutes, and it's in silence, right? And that could be meditation, like your personal meditation. For me, I'm a man of faith, so mine is praying out loud for 10 minutes. I figure, seeking God and my Creator is better than seeking personal peace. I think I get a greater peace from the one that created me. So that's what I do for 10 minutes. Then the next thing I do is I do affirmations, which is like declarations of where I want to go. Like I declare to be a 20K producer. I'm going to do these activities that will lead me there. I declare whatever that may be. So it's affirmations. I'm a winner. I don't give up. I'm a great connector. I'm a great communicator. I'm full of confidence. I'm a difference maker. I'm relentless. I give it all. I'm blessed coming in, blessed going out. My head, not the tail. I mean, I go through a lot of declarations that help me start to identify, because your mouth, your spoken word's a big deal, right? I mean, you could say there's a big bang. I just believe that this thing was spoken into reality, and if it was spoken, the world was spoken. I mean, just think about how important what you speak is, right? The word is spoken, is legal. I mean, I'm just telling you, it's a big deal. So you speak it. Then I visualize the day I want to have. What does it look like? What does success, what does winning look like? Like I said with the staff, I owe that to them. I don't want to be in the middle ground with my family. When I leave the office on Monday, I can disconnect from my work if I did hit my non-negotiable. Now I know that I won for the day. It isn't about what I got. It's this activity is going to lead to the result, right? That's why you pay anybody. That's why I pay my staff, is because I know the activity is going to be a better payoff than the money I got to pay in. The trade-off is good, or else I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't have a, So this is going to work out good. So once I've hit that total appointment, I can be fully present with my family. That's how you get great fulfillment being self-employed. But if you don't ever do that, you're just going to be, when you're at work, think about family, your family, think about work. It ain't no good. It's just the way it's going to be. And so you visualize the way you want to see it work out. The next thing is exercise. I mean, you don't have to go for an hour, but I'm just saying get your heart rate moving, endorphins that's released. It does a lot for your cognitive thought process, like 5-10 minutes of just, if that's all, it's going to be jumping jacks, high knees, whatever. But getting your blood going, I think that's important.
And then, what time do you get up in the morning?
Between 4:30 and 5:30. And I think the last thing is journaling. You know what I mean? Like I like the 5-minute journal app that you can get on your phone. It's gratitude also, so you can put the things you're grateful for. It has the 3 most important things to accomplish in that day, and it has a place for you to actually physically write affirmations. So I've got a list of them, but I also write down a couple each day too. So the 5-minute journal is great, and I just think journaling is a big deal. It helps me out. I mean, I like reading the Word, picking a scripture, and I write on it. So again, I'm not trying to press my faith upon you. I'm just saying that's what I do. I'm not gonna lie to you and act like I don't do something I do. But you can write and journal in different ways. But that's just what I do. So that's kind of how I get my mind right in the morning. Then I'll read maybe 10 minutes of a self-development book that's going to help me. A lot of times I read a book that's in a bigger book. You know what I mean? But you could read a lot of other books. It just comes from that book. So that's how I do it. I mean, I'm telling you guys, it's not that deep. But if you just stick to it, your discipline and your schedule will lead to the freedom of your life in your life. If not, you're not gonna. It's gonna be in this middle ground consistently. And realize that the price to pay is so much better. Like it shouldn't be easy. Like when you're 200 pounds, 400 pounds, or 600 pounds overweight, it's harder the more you are to get through that. It ain't easy, but it's possible and it's worth it, right? This is you should get beat up every once in a while. It should be like I dialed for 4 hours and I got only one person to answer the phone. Good. That's a good thing. How's that good? Well, it's for one, it's testing you. Do you have what it takes to continue to press on? Because if you don't quit now, why quit in 3 weeks, right? And it's building your character so you can step into the next level. You can't step into the next level and deal with problems at the next level if you're at this level. Thought process and mental toughness. You can't do it. You got to have stuff that drives you. It's almost like you got to, extract this stuff and get this stuff out. what is that thing when you take the stuff out of the earth? Excavate?
Excavate, yeah.
You gotta excavate. What is it? Excavate before you can elevate. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta get rid of some stuff. And so sometimes that's the stuff that happens that seems like it's bad or the struggle. That's what has to happen so you can eventually elevate, right? It's like you don't want to be the person that walks around like in today's world, like, man, I'm about to get swole before I get sore. What? They start rubbing someone on their arm. No, you got to get sore to get swole, fool. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way it works. I don't know what you're reading. You know, you got this this myth that you got going on. But you know, you got that's how you got to look at it, right? You got to realize that it should be painful. I enjoy getting beat up, as weird as it sounds, every once in a while because I realize, okay, good, I'm on the right path. And this is preparing me to get to the level that I want to get to. If you can make, we could just say 3, 4, 5, 600,000, and now we're really speaking to 7-figure income as we have quite a few people making a 7-figure income. If you can get to that reward and that benefit, shouldn't the price and the pain be pretty great?
Yeah.
And this isn't no get rich quick scheme, so it should be pretty great. Now, it's a get rich pretty quick because you can get rich pretty quick if you do this. Does that make sense? So I hope this helps when it comes to scheduling. Just realize that it is worth paying the price, but until you get this dialed in, you could be the most talented. I mean, I've had the most talented agents come on board in the past 11 years where I'm like, dude, they could change your family's life. I mean, they really could. They got what it takes, but they fall off. It's because they don't have this together. They got the skill, the ability, everything. It's right there. And I've got agents where I'm like, man, they are a disaster. Like, they got to excavate. Is that what it is? Excavate. Excavate. They got to do all of it. Like, they got to start from, and all of a sudden they do it though. But they have this right. They have this right. And I could tell. I mean, I don't want to say it, but I could point like, now they're making $400,000 or $500,000, but they had that right. You know, so get this right, and you'll be right.